This is the Phuket News Hour with Tim Shaw. Join the conversation on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Phuket Live Radio.
Hello and welcome to the program. Some of the stories making news in the ASEAN region: a $7 million marijuana drug haul in Cambodia, an Indonesian landslide in the Papua region kills 8, Singapore goes to the polls on the 11th of September, and a new deal between Thailand, Cambodia and other ASEAN nations on a flat-rate telecommunications roaming deal. Thai authorities to meet with southern insurgents, and Typhoon Goni hits the Japanese coast. All this and more here on the Phuket News Hour. We'll bring you the latest from the BBC World Headlines, and we'll cross to the Phuket News Centre for local and national news. The News Hour brought to you by the Kids Club Phuket. Make sure you stay tuned for all the news that counts here on Live 89.5, the Phuket News Hour.
The news you need to know. This is the Phuket News Hour with Tim Shaw.
Looking to stories making news in ASEAN, we cross to Phnom Penh, where Cambodian police on Tuesday showed off a seizure of nearly 1.5 tonnes of marijuana, worth more than $7 million, packed in coffee bags, part of an ongoing drug crackdown in the country. The head of the Interior Ministry's Anti-Drug Office, General Q Samon, said that 1,487 kilograms of marijuana was seized on Friday in Phnom Penh during raids in which 3 Cambodians were arrested. The marijuana was packed in bags of Dao coffee, which was smuggled from neighbouring Laos into Cambodia. Reporters were told at a press conference in which officers presented the drug haul, the suspects and seized equipment to the media. Dao is a brand of Lao coffee popular in Cambodia. According to the police chief, they plan to smuggle the marijuana to third countries where the price is high. The seized marijuana is worth more than $7 million in Western markets. About 1.5 kilograms of marijuana oil worth at least $75,000 was also confiscated. Q Samon said that the foreign ringleaders were thought to be behind the smuggling network without naming from which nation. The 3 suspects face up to life in jail if convicted, according to a court official. Police said that they had confiscated about 90 kilograms of drugs over the first 7 months of this year, including 55 kilograms of methamphetamine and heroin from Laos that was seized in June, as well as arresting more than 2,000 traffickers. Cambodia has become a popular smuggling route for narcotics, particularly methamphetamine and heroin, since neighbouring Thailand toughened its stance on illegal drugs in the early 2000s. That report from the Bangkok Post. Moving to the Papua province of Indonesia, 8 people are missing and feared dead after a major landslide hit a road in remote eastern Indonesia. Heavy downpours in an isolated mountainous region of Papua province triggered the landslide, burying 6 construction workers and 2 bystanders under rock and rubble. According to the police spokesman, news of the incident did not reach local authorities until early this week, when a rescue team was quickly assembled, but bad weather prevented police, army and local officials from reaching the site of the landslide, with the effort to reach those buried resuming on Tuesday. Landslides are common in Indonesia, one of the world's most natural disaster-prone nations. The National Disaster Agency estimates about half of the country's 250 million population live in areas susceptible to landslides. That report from the Bangkok Post. The Straits Times from Singapore is reporting that it's the first time since 1997 that a general election in Singapore will be held on a weekday. Political parties and their supporters swung into action after President Tony Tan Kem Yam dissolved the parliament, and news followed that the general election would be held on September 11. The People's Action Party branches and opposition party officers across the island, activists finalised their candidate lineups and worked to ensure the campaign flags, posters and especially nomination papers will be in order. So candidate nomination day will be next Tuesday, September the 1st, with a minimum of 9 days to campaign before the cooling off day on September 10, and polling day will be a public holiday. This is the first time since 1997 that the general election will be held on a weekday. Some PAP activists said holding the polls on September 12 would have clashed with community events planned for the last day of the Chinese 7th month. That story from Singapore, Prime Minister Lee going to the polls on September 11. That's just some of the stories making news in the ASEAN region.
Miss something? No problem. Listen to the Phuket News Hour any time of the day. Programs posted daily on the phuketnews.com/radio and on our Facebook page, Phuket Live Radio. Miss something? No problem. Listen to the Phuket News Hour any time of the day. Programs posted daily on the phuketnews.com/radio and on our Facebook page, Phuket Live Radio. Your daily news fix, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. Only on Live 89.5.
The Phuket News Hour, proudly sponsored by the Kids Club Phuket. It's an amazing and unique indoor playground for children. It covers 800 square metres of area, which is fully air-conditioned. Our safe and child-friendly complex features play equipment, which will keep the kids completely amused for hours on end, including climbing walls, a padded trampoline room, swings and slides, flying fox, overhead tunnels, playhouses, and so much more. Trained nannies there to supervise your child while you go shopping at Jung Salong, because the Kids Club Phuket is opposite Jung Salong, underground parking, and it's open 7 days a week from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Go to facebook.com, The Kids Club Phuket, or check out thekidsclubphuket.com. Don't forget to breaking news, the best party supplies shop on the island. Where? At the Kids Club Phuket, opposite Jung Salong. They're on Ratu Pit T. Make sure you get down there, let the kids have a great time while you go shopping, have a kid-free meal. Mums and dads, the Kids Club Phuket, the proud sponsors of the Phuket News Hour.
Live 89.5, your island, your station, live.
Looking to a story from the Kyoto News that the Mekong nations and Japan have agreed on an industrialization blueprint. Japan and the 5 Southeast Asian countries bordering the Mekong River adopted on Monday a blueprint to boost industrialization in the sub-region. The blueprint, known as the Mekong Industrial Development Vision, got the thumbs up during a meeting between Japan's Minister for Economy, Trade and Industry and his counterparts from Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar and Vietnam. The meeting was held in Kuala Lumpur on the sidelines of the annual meeting of trade ministers from the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and its dialogue partners, including Japan. A set of policy directions are spelled out, such as harmonising standards, certification to ease the flow of cross-border trade, developing special economic zones along the border, and collaborating with Japanese universities and industry to foster skilled workforces and promote research and development. The region-wide efforts will be implemented by 2020. The region also needs to strengthen its infrastructure and ensure energy supply stability. To that end, the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe announced in May that Japan will allocate US $110 billion for the development of quality infrastructure in the region over the next 5 years. According to the story in the Bangkok Post, the Mekong countries all have great economic potential in view of their location between 2 fast-growing economic giants, China and India. Now, exports to the 2 countries have seen an annual growth rate of 20% since 2000, according to the document. Foreign investment rose $4 billion in the early 2000s to over $10 billion in 2010s, but they're either focused on natural resources, oil and gas, minerals, water and land, or labour-intensive industries like making shoes and clothes and large-scale assembly lines of manufacturing industries. Japan's engagement with the Mekong countries is also aimed at narrowing development disparities between the region and the rest of Southeast Asia. Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar and Vietnam still lag behind their ASEAN partners Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, the Philippines and Thailand. They all need a leg up, especially as ASEAN aims for greater economic integration. Under the ASEAN Economic Community Roadmap, the group's envision of an integrated market and production base with free flow of goods, services, investment, skilled labour and capital. It aims to boost the combined gross domestic product of the grouping to 4.7 trillion by 2020. ASEAN's combined GDP is currently estimated at 2.7 trillion. That report from the Bangkok Post. More news on the way. This is the Phuket News Hour.
Today's important stories and the island's best music. This is the Phuket News Hour with Tim Shaw.
The New York Times is reporting that a US Marine accused of killing a transgender woman in Manila in the Philippines acknowledged on Monday that he had choked her until she was no longer moving, but stopped short of saying that he had killed her, according to the prosecutor assigned to the case. The serviceman, Lance Corporal Joseph Scott Pemberton, 20, was arrested in October in connection with the death of a 26-year-old Filipino, Jennifer Laude, whose name at birth was Jeffrey. Corporal Pemberton had met Miss Laude in the Olongapo City nightclub while he was on liberty during military exercises, then accompanied her to a nearby hotel room where she was later found dead. Corporal Pemberton, who has been charged with murder, testified during his trial on Monday. It was the first time that he had publicly provided his account of what took place in the room with Miss Laude. He said that he brought Miss Laude and another woman to the hotel room, not knowing that they were transgender. When he discovered that Miss Laude was a transgender person, he then punched and kicked her, slapped her, then choked her in an arm lock until she was no longer moving. He also testified that Miss Laude was still breathing but appeared to be unconscious after being put in the arm lock. He said he brought her to the bathroom to try and revive her and left her slumped over the toilet. He said he then took a taxi back to his ship where he told a fellow Marine, "I left her unconscious." Pemberton did not kill Laude, Corporal Pemberton's lawyer, Rowena L. Garcia Flores, wrote in an email on Monday. He left Laude in the toilet alive. Miss Garcia Flores said that Corporal Pemberton had no criminal record, had never been in a fight before his altercation with Miss Laude. He said that he acted to defend his honour when he discovered that Miss Laude was a man, but other factors led to the altercation, including his fear of being scammed. According to the lawyer, quote, he was a victim of the fraud committed by a sex worker. Pemberton testified, quote, I felt like I was raped by Laude, the lawyer wrote in a subsequent email. He was repulsed, he felt violated and angry that he would not have agreed to have had sex with Ms. Laude if he knew he was a man. It's a major admission that he performed an arm lock on the woman until she stopped moving, a private lawyer who is helping Miss Laude's family. We'll keep you up to date on that story, but in this account from the court in the Philippines, it's clear that Corporal Pemberton has acknowledged physical violence against Miss Laude, who was subsequently found dead in the hotel room. More news on the way.
Your daily news fix, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. Only on Live 89.5.
That is the program for today. Thank you for tuning in. The program produced and presented by Tim Shaw, associate producer Chara Revitt, using the resources of the BBC, the Voice of America, CNN, the Bangkok Post and the Phuket News Centre. You can catch the podcast highlights by going to PhuketLiveRadio.com, and please give us feedback on Facebook.com, the Phuket News, and Facebook.com, Phuket Live Radio. The Phuket News Hour proudly brought to you by the Kids Club Phuket. Don't forget, open from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m, 7 days a week. A great place for the kids to play. Have a great remainder of the day, and we look forward to you joining us again here on the Phuket News Hour. Have a safe one. Bye for now.
This is the Phuket News Hour with Tim Shaw. Join the conversation on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Phuket Live Radio.